And Sheeta asked me to do this. I told her that, this entire thing of DEI, etc., I'm actually extremely anti. My take is that we have probably, in terms of our own firms here, in my career, I've been very fortunate. I got very fantastic breaks very early in life. But I think I owe my professional success to a lady. I had one of the toughest bosses when I started my career. This lady used to make me cry every day. When I say make me cry, I'm saying literally make me cry. Right? But she would pull me up every day. This is less than perfect, this is not okay, why didn't you do this? I wrote what I thought was a proposal for a very complex financial transaction. I was 23 years old. I felt like, I'm cat's whiskers and I really put this together and I'm this hero. And I'm 23 years old, so I expected to get a lot of kudos for it. She read the note, she had to sign off on anything that I sent out to anybody. She calls me, picks it up and flings it on my face. You know how many times that document was flung on my face? 8 times. And I swore the 8th time she did it, I stayed the whole night, went through it again and again and again and again. And I was there the whole night. In the morning when she walked in at 7:15, which she always did, I put it on her table, she read through it, looks at me, signs off on it, gives it to me and says, finally. And she was my primary boss, and at the end of the year, everyone does appraisals for people. She never discussed it with me. She did my appraisal and sent it off. And I was quite sure that she just wanted to get me fired. She's horrid and she's just is discriminating against me. Next thing I know, I get a call from the head office, from the head of HR, the country head of HR, saying, please come to Bombay. I went to Bombay. So I go to the country head's office, he gets up from his table, comes up and hugs me. I'm 23, okay? I mean, this is I'm looking around I'm being softened up before being fired. I prepared a presentation to say that I have done a good job. I'm not a bad guy, right? And he sits me down on the sofa and says, Rahul, I have seen many appraisals in my life, but I have never seen an appraisal like what you have gotten. But he says, even that is not important. What is important is that who you have got it from, because this lady has the reputation of being the toughest appraiser we have ever seen. But you have this incredible appraiser. They are extraordinary women in all fields of life, and I'm just telling you one example of somebody who has touched my life very significantly. And the first bias is that, and a lot of these biases come from what I call societal expectations. The data suggests that 50% of women in the first 3 years after they become a mother do drop out. But I believe that the reason they drop out is because of the incredible amount of societal pressure that is put on them. There's a bias on performance. Why is there a bias on performance? Because women don't claim their fair share. The reason you all must hire women and inculcate them and encourage them is that they are the most mispriced resource available in the economy. So it's very interesting. I remember several years ago we ran an exam process and multiple listing process. The number of women applicants we got were less than 10% of the pool. For one job we got 20,000 applicants, less than 2,000 were women. But when we did the exams, the ultimate shortlist that we had of 20 candidates who we interviewed, 18 were women. You need to create environments for women to come back to work after they've had babies. SAP has a brilliant program. They say that women after they've had babies can work half day for the next, after a child is born, for the next 9 months, and they will be paid fully. I am saying if you facilitate a woman's motherhood, her loyalty to you will be incredible. A person who is in a relationship with anyone else should recuse themselves from assessing or appraising the other person. If these golden rules are followed, I have never seen a problem happen. Please develop the courage to be who you are. Please develop the courage to know yourself. Please develop the courage to know what gives you happiness. Please develop the courage to be disliked. Please develop the courage to be talked about and smile. Okay? Please develop the courage to be disparaged. It won't harm you. And I can also assure you, the more you succeed, the more these things will happen. That doesn't matter. I would treat it as validation. The more that people put pressure on you on these kinds of things, the more it validates you. I mean, I would say that leadership starts with leading yourself. Self-awareness, self-reflection, understanding, and I follow Charlie Munger's principle on this. Define all the bad bosses you ever had in your life, right? And figure out how you can be the opposite. The first thing you must understand is defining what you want the culture of the place to be. If you don't think it through, you don't articulate it, you don't define it, then something else random will happen. All leaders have to take ownership for any failures. And by the way, I can tell you one thing. The one thing about entrepreneurship is the multiplicity of times that you will fail. But I can tell you that the success ratio of women who get into entrepreneurship is almost 3 times higher than the success ratio of men. So having good communications and being a good listener at all points in time and listening to your customer and solving for a customer need is something which is critical. And you build any new organization, it's that new customer insight which is the most critical thing. And you should never let go of that. Very often entrepreneurs fail at the second phase. Why do they fail at the second phase? Because initially you're doing everything. You're meeting the customer, listening to them, trying to solve for them. Then when you start succeeding, what do? I need to build an organization, I need to be spending time hiring, I need to build culture, I need to build process, I need to have my finance and accounts there. So the focus goes from listening to the customer to internal. And in a rapidly changing environment, somebody else will come and eat your lunch. All products and services do something for the customer. You need to understand that well, and you need to articulate your vision very well. But leaders don't just articulate a vision, they repeat it in all different kinds of ways. They reinforce it. They inspire people, they collect people to fulfill that vision. Need to understand that this is a data world. You need to understand that there needs to be data centricity in terms of what you do and how you do it, and you need to collect data. If you look at any of the large indices in the world, and you see the largest market caps companies in the world, they are people who gather data, assess data, understand, and data can be about your customer, product, marketplace, environment, but you have to understand what data is important and make sure that in whichever way you are capturing it, and you're capturing it and storing it in a way that you can access it and analyze it and get insights from it. I'm just saying that if you look at companies, when they hit on something which they know is working, then their focus on scaling that is very, very essential. And customers will forgive you for doing things wrong. Okay? As long as you acknowledge the fact that it went wrong, and they can see that you are taking steps to rectify it. Don't postpone a decision. You always have to make decisions with 70% probability of it. Don't postpone it. And the last thing I would say to all of you is be unreasonable. George Bernard Shaw had this thing to say, was saying that all progress depends only on the unreasonable man. Be unreasonable, because you will get innovation, you will get new things, people will find new ways to do things only if you are unreasonable.
And without even aiming for 50-50. So, just not a question but a commentary on, it's a little complex, how to sort of balance, like you alluded to the Me Too movement a little bit, like in terms of harassment, etc., gender sort of biases, equality. It's no matter how, like today I feel I'm a leader when it comes to the women in my team. But I feel that pressure. After 20 years of profession, I feel that pressure about home and not having looked after the home and things like that. So I don't know. As an organization, one can support, yes, but maybe we have to have better ideas of how to bring women back. Because when I started out, becoming a woman partner was a very big deal. Then once that sort of started, staying a partner was a very big deal. And we still sort of lose so many women post having children. So I don't know that.
I think survival is
half-day working, etc. Most organizations will not offer that.
Yeah.
In fact, they'll be looked down upon for doing a half-day because the men will say, "Oh, we work much harder. So why are they getting full pay?" So I think, maybe we have to be a little more creative. But yes, we have to enable this. I'm at a loss myself because I've had 2 children and I've been back at work within 3 months, and that's not good. That's not good. But that's how I've kept my place. So any sort of further thoughts on that?
Sure. One of the things, a lot of it comes from, I think, traditions. A lot of religions advocate, particular role segregation and these kinds of things. But I think that these things can only happen if they are discussed. Air them out, right? And you can state your point of view. It doesn't mean that everyone has to agree.
But how would you look at investing and making mistakes from that lens? In considering that an NPA, specifically for a debt fund, in a fairly nascent industry, can be very, very costly.
Get the people right. Make sure that the business makes sense. Make sure that the governance mindset is there, right? And make sure that the cash flows are there to return your money. You get these 4 things right, you're pretty much home.
So I am Rhea. I represent the investments team at Unicorn Ventures. So we are a Cat 1 fund, angel fund particularly, catering to investing in early stage startups from pre-seed to pre-series A stages. So I just want to get your thoughts on we see that a lot of funds are coming up nowadays that have a particular thesis around supporting only women-led ventures or supporting only ventures who are particularly targeting women. So what are your thoughts on that?
What happens is that often women founders will end up getting discriminated against. And why do I think that they do get discriminated against? Because if I look at the data of women who get funded, their success ratios are higher. Women who get loans, their NPAs are always lower. What does that mean? That means there is a more conservative approach being used for women founders, right? So therefore, does it make sense from a societal perspective to do something which is dedicated to women? Maybe. I'm not much of a fan of it, but there is a case to be made for it, for sure.
Somebody tells you that you're not good enough. But what about the biases when you enter the room, which are basically non-verbal? Like a look is exchanged, the energy of the room changes. We had a very senior person in the last conference, and she said that I'm as good an investment banker or deal maker. But there's somebody who is sitting opposite me. Just because he has entered the room, done some billion-dollar deals, people feel intimidated by him. But my credibility as a deal maker is questioned at that position, in BFSI space, right?
See, this happens in every aspect. I face this all the time. Because I was much younger for my role, I used to face this discrimination. I remember once I was called by RBI to give a talk by my title. I went there, they wouldn't let me into the room. And I'm claiming that you've invited me to come and give a talk here, but they wouldn't let me into the room. So look, this kind of thing happens, these biases, these unconscious biases are there. But once the substance comes to the fore, it'll vanish.